Okay, this tutorial is going to help you describe the changes in farming that are shown in these two diagrams, along with some other resources like films that you will have no doubt seen that cover this. Right, let's get started. We've got a diagram that shows us the farming landscape in 1950, and then we've got that same diagram that shows us the farming landscape in 2005. So they're meant to be showing us the same landscape. The only difference is we can see that there are some noticeable changes. Now, at this point, we're not being asked to explain why there has been a change over this 55-year period in time. We're just asking you to describe that change. So what are the key bits of evidence? Well, the first thing you'll notice is that back in 1950, the field sizes were relatively small. And we can see that if we project forward into the modern day time, that these field sizes have actually now grown in size. So average field sizes have grown over time. And that's just a descriptive statement. Right, that's the first change. Let's just see how many other changes we can observe in these two diagrams. So another key change is that a lot of our hedgerows that we can see dotted between the fields that would have separated them, so these would have been lines of small trees or hedgerows or bushes, have now disappeared from our landscape. So there are less hedgerows today than there were in the past. So that's a second descriptive change. The farm itself, a third descriptive change, has changed in terms of its job. So it's no longer just a place where people live and where equipment is stored, but we can now see that the farmer has opened up a sideline business. It's what we call diversification, and is running other non-related farm businesses that he wouldn't have been back in 1950. Okay. Another change is actually what the farmer is doing. We can see that back in 1950, there was quite a lot of cattle in the fields. And we can see that in 2005, it's mostly what we call arable crops. So that's ARABLE. So they're growing crops. Back in 1950, we can see there was basic equipment being used, so these kind of basic tractors that were quite small and would have taken quite a long time to plow fields. Today, in 2005, or even right up to 2020, we can see that there are large machines like these combine harvesters that can therefore do the jobs much quicker. We can see that there are far less trees in this landscape in 2005. So clearly the farmer has removed a lot of forestry, opening it up for land. Okay. What else can we see the differences? Because there are even more when you start. In the 1950, you can see there's quite a lot of employees. There's a lot of farmhands, and they would have probably been living in these cottages near the farm. In the 19th image, we know probably only employing one worker now, and that's the farmer themselves. And these cottages in the background may very well have been turned into holiday rentals, which is common. Back in 1950, farmer would have put a lot of his crops in the fields to dry. After harvesting them, they would have been stacked to dry. Today, the harvesters will deposit them into these large storage containers, which are indoors, where his crops will dry and then will be uplifted by trucks. Okay. A big part of the farmer's farm in 2005 are large warehouses for storing and fixing equipment, because the farmer is very dependent on technology and machines. That would have been less required back in 1950, because he would have had far fewer machines. We can also see that the farmer in 2005 is becoming quite reliant on the use of chemicals. It could be pesticides for killing insects, could be fertilizers for helping his crops grow better. Back in 1950, this would have mainly been natural. Okay. We have some labels that give us some other key ideas. I've covered most of these, but we can see that back in 1950, his yields, that's what the actual farmer produced, their yield was quite low. Whereas compare that with 2005, the actual quantity of food that the farmers now producing is very high. Okay, so those are the kind of the key changes that you can see. What you need to do is describe a range of those changes that I've identified, not explaining them, just saying what was it like and what is it like today, without giving any reasons for why that change has happened.